Good evening, everyone. Sorry to interrupt, but we're here to stop this engagement party. Pause, can you imagine the shock? 3 young boys crashing a billionaire's big night, ready to drop a bombshell that'll change everything. Dark voices here, bringing you a story you won't believe. Jason stood frozen at the sound, his smile fading as he turned to see a young boy with a buzzcut boldly declaring their intentions. Jason quickly stood and approached the 3 kids. Around him, whispers began to buzz. Hey kids, this party is for adults. You shouldn't be here, and I don't want anything ruining this special day in my life, Jason said sternly, gripping the arm of the boy who had spoken. We're not leaving until we've had a word with you. Why don't you look at our faces? Maybe you'll get a clue why we're here, the curly-haired boy named Liam said firmly. Pause, and here's where it gets wild, folks, stick with dark voices, because this is about to blow your mind. Jason looked at the 3 boys, confused. He couldn't find any reason why they'd show up here until the 3rd child, the most serious-looking of the group, stepped forward. We just want you to know all 3 of us are your children. You're our dad, said Conrad. Gasps echoed through the room. Jason's eyes widened, staring at Conrad with his long hair. Don't joke like that, kid. That's a serious accusation, he said, shaking his head. I know I haven't gotten anyone pregnant, especially not enough to have kids. We wouldn't dare come here just to mess around, Conrad said, waving an envelope in the air. We brought DNA test results to prove we're telling the truth. More murmurs spread as Jason's mouth dropped open. He was stunned. This couldn't be happening. Not today. Not at his engagement party. He returned to his seat, locking eyes with Susie, his fiancée, who looked furious. What now, Jason? She said with venom in her voice. You said it was only me, but those boys showed up at our engagement party. I'm humiliated. My dad walked out. I hate you, Jason. Sweetie, calm down. They're just trying to mess with us. I'll handle this, he started, but Susie cut him off. There's no engagement anymore. My dad's gone. The guests are leaving. And you embarrassed my whole family. We're done. She shouted before storming out of the venue. The guests followed, leaving only Jason and a few family members behind. Jason clenched his fist and punched the air in frustration. His perfect day had just fallen apart. The 3 boys stood nearby, calm and unbothered, as if they hadn't just ruined everything. Jason growled. Don't let those kids out of here. This isn't over. I'm going after Susie, Jason said and hurried out of the hotel, only to scratch his head in frustration when he couldn't find her. He tried calling her, but she had blocked his number. Back inside, his mother, Diane, was chatting with the boys, laughing with them. Jason approached with disbelief. He was heartbroken. And yet here was his mom, delighted to spend time with these cute boys. Okay, he admitted to himself. They were cute, a little too much like him when he was their age. Let me guess, he said bitterly. You paid them to crash the party, didn't you, Mom? You've never liked Susie. This is your way of getting rid of her. His mother's face hardened. Do you really think I'd do something like that to my own son? No, I couldn't bear to hurt you that way. But Jason, be honest. Susie wasn't the only girl in your life. You're no saint. It's not impossible that you fathered a child or 3. Jason blinked. Her words landed with weight. Could it be true? One day you'll thank these boys, Diane continued, because they may have saved you from a world of pain. You just don't see it yet. You're too full of love for Susie, but time will reveal the truth. Jason sat stunned. Could his mom know something about Susie that he didn't? What are you trying to say, Mom? He asked, confused. That's enough. We'll talk at home, his dad, Dennis, interjected. I'll take the boys with us. You just follow. Let's go, bro, said his sister, Maya, placing a hand on his shoulder. Jason didn't respond. He didn't move until he felt small arms wrap around his waist. I'm sorry, Dad, said Conrad. We didn't mean to hurt you. We just wanted you to know we exist. Sorry, Daddy. We can't hide the truth forever, Liam added and hugged him. I love you, Daddy, Liam whispered. Jason wanted to cry from the whirlwind of emotions. He had planned to build a family with Susie, but now fate had flipped the script. As he watched the boys walk out of the hotel, he couldn't help but wonder who was their mother. Jason stayed at the hotel for a few more hours trying to calm himself down, but he couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. He kept trying to call Susie, but her number was unreachable. The more he tried, the more depressed he felt. By the time he got to his parents' house, it was already 9 p.m. The house was so quiet that he assumed everyone had gone to sleep. But when he walked in, he saw Maya sitting in the living room. Where are the boys? He asked. They went to bed, said they were sleepy, Maya replied. Jason sighed and dropped himself onto the couch. You should have kept them up. We weren't done talking. Come on, Jason. Let them rest, Maya said gently. Yeah, they caused a scene. But if what they're saying is true, then they did the right thing. Think about it. If you were in their place, wouldn't you want to meet your father? Jason stayed silent. If you knew he was engaged and you hadn't even been introduced, wouldn't you speak up? She added. Jason rubbed his temples. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to get married now. The timing was just wrong. And there are 3 of them. They didn't even wait until the party ended before dropping a bomb like that. Did you see the DNA results they brought? Jason asked. Yes, Maya answered. It was sealed, but it looked real, and it said positive. If you're unsure, you can verify which hospital it came from. Thanks, Maya, Jason muttered. Any idea who their mother could be? She asked. Jason shook his head. I don't remember. There were quite a few. Maya smirked and gave him a look. Wow, you really were something, huh? No wonder there's a chance more will come forward. Don't even joke about that, Jason grumbled. She laughed, seeing the annoyance on his face. He was already overwhelmed. He didn't need another surprise. After their talk, Jason said goodbye and left for his own house. But the truth was, he wasn't heading home. He was going to a bar to drink and forget. Meanwhile, across town, Shaina had just arrived home from a fashion show abroad. The house was unusually quiet, and she noticed there were no sounds at all. She wondered where her kids were. She sat on the living room couch, resting her tired body. She had brought home souvenirs for her triplets, but none of them came running to greet her. As she was resting, Lorna, the kids' nanny, came out from the kitchen. Oh, you're back, ma'am, said Lorna. Just got home. Where are the kids? Shaina asked. They didn't come home last night, Lorna replied with concern. I tried calling you to inform you, but I couldn't reach you. Shaina's face fell. My friend picked them up. She said they had somewhere to go, but they haven't returned since. Do you know where they went? Shaina asked. Did they even go to school today? They went to school in the morning, but they left right after coming home, Lorna replied. Oh my God, these kids are going to give me a headache, Shaina said. Lorna, wait in the living room. If they don't come home tonight, file a report at the police station. I'll try calling my friend who picked them up. Maybe they're still with her. Yes, ma'am, Lorna replied. Shaina went upstairs, but her mind was fixed on her children. They'd been stubborn from the start, and now they'd gone and disappeared without telling her. She entered her room, dropped her suitcase, undressed, and headed to the shower. Later, while wrapped in a towel, she grabbed her phone from her sling bag and checked for missed calls or messages. Her friend Debbie had sent her a video on Instagram. Debbie was probably the one who picked the kids up, but before she could watch it, Debbie called her. Where are the kids? Shaina asked immediately. Girl, they begged me to take them somewhere, Debbie said. They insisted I drop them off at a certain venue. I'm about to call the police, Shaina said. Lorna said they left and didn't return. They went to Jason Benedict's engagement party, Debbie blurted out. What? Shaina gasped. Watch the video I sent you, Debbie said. Then react, but calm down first. At least they're safe. After the call ended, Shaina watched the video, and her jaw dropped at what she saw her triplets doing. Even though she wasn't there facing Jason Benedict, she could feel his anger and frustration through the screen. She knew he'd be searching for the kid's mother, and her gut told her all the blame would fall on her. Now she was worried. What if Jason had done something reckless out of anger? But no, he wouldn't hurt his own children. Not knowingly. She had assumed things were fine since the kids never asked about their father. But now she saw they'd been quietly plotting something that could jeopardize her. They were definitely in trouble when they got home. Shaina quickly got dressed and left her room. Lorna wasn't in the living room, probably in the kitchen cooking. Before Shaina could sit down, the front door opened, and the triplets walked in, completely unfazed, as if nothing had happened. Where have you three been? Shaina asked sternly, eyes narrowed. The three exchanged looks, silently urging one another to speak. We had a sleepover at a classmate's house, Mommy, said Luke, trying to act innocent and respectful. You're too young to decide to sleep over somewhere without permission. And why didn't any of you tell me? She asked. Or are you hiding something from me? Mommy, what would we be hiding from you? Liam replied with a kiss on her cheek and a respectful gesture. Conrad followed, raising both arms and hugging her tightly. I missed you so much, Mommy. When did you get home? Shaina groaned internally. The three of them were clearly in cahoots, hiding what really happened at Jason Benedict's engagement party. I just got home, and none of you were here, Shaina said. Lorna told me you didn't come home last night. Don't you realize how dangerous the world is? Kids go missing all the time and never make it back home. Next time, don't ever leave without permission. Do you understand? Yes, Mommy. We're sorry. It won't happen again, Luke answered, his head bowed. The triplets didn't own tablets, iPads, or phones. Even though Shaina could afford them, she didn't want her kids addicted to gadgets while they were still in school. If Debbie hadn't sent her that video from Jason Benedict's engagement party, she wouldn't have known where her children had gone, and clearly, they had no plans of telling her the truth. You had no intention of telling me, did you? Shaina said, staring at them. You were going to keep everything a secret. Well, you never planned to tell us who our dad is, Liam said quietly. You've always kept that to yourself. So, we took it upon ourselves to find him and introduce ourselves. What you did was wrong, kids, Shaina replied as she sat on the sofa. There's a right time for everything. When exactly is the right time, Mommy? Luke asked. We don't think you ever planned to tell him we existed. Not in this world where you both live. Shaina sighed. Her children were right. She'd never intended to tell Jason that he was their father. She had been too angry at him for leaving her without a word for reasons she still didn't understand. She'd never really moved on. Maybe she had loved him too much. Or maybe she wasn't enough for him. Either way, she couldn't forget what he did. But secrets don't stay buried forever, especially not with kids who acted like little detectives. And now there was no hiding anything. Why do you care? I've provided for you. You have a good life with me. We have a beautiful home. We're financially stable. Isn't that enough? Shaina asked with a pained tone. We appreciate all your sacrifices, Mommy, Conrad said. But every child needs a father. Some kids don't search for one because they never had the chance. But we have that chance. We want to know him. We want to proudly say he's our dad. Shaina gave a bitter smile. Her kids weren't acting like children anymore. They spoke with so much maturity, but the love and respect in their voices never wavered. What would happen when they grew up and started families of their own? It was painful to imagine being alone. But as their mother, she could support them. But what they did had placed their father in an embarrassing and awkward situation. They had ruined his special day. You embarrassed your dad, Shaina said. That was supposed to be his happy moment, his engagement. You should have waited until after the party. But we haven't seen him in 10 years, Mommy, Liam said. What did you expect us to do? We wanted to ruin that engagement because we didn't want him to marry someone else. Is it so wrong to be selfish just this once? If he married her and had kids with someone else, we'd be completely forgotten, Conrad added, speaking like someone far older than his years. Shaina held her head. These kids were giving her a headache. But he hated us, Conrad continued sadly. He didn't feel any connection when he saw us. He didn't feel that fatherly instinct people talk about. Shaina's heart ached for her sons. She knew she was partly to blame. She had let her anger get in the way of telling Jason about the children, and part of her feared what would happen if Jason refused to accept them. We're not going to stop until he accepts us as his children, Conrad said. We know we surprised him with the truth. It's funny, really. We were the ones chasing after him. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Shouldn't parents be the ones seeking their kids, not the other way around? But that's okay. At least now he knows we exist. Hopefully, he'll remember who we got pregnant and realize we're the result. Shaina quickly turned away, not wanting her children to see the tears forming in her eyes. They were still so young, but so full of hope. All this time, she thought they wouldn't yearn for a father's affection. She was wrong. They were just trying to be strong. Elsewhere, Jason had plans to meet up with his 3 closest friends, Freddie, Joel, and Adam, at a bar. He wanted their help in finding out who the mother of the triplets was. He couldn't get the incident out of his mind, especially since he still couldn't reach Susie. She had probably ended things for good. It was around 7 p.m. when Jason arrived at the bar, even before his friends. While waiting, he called his sister Maya to check if the kids were still at their parents' house, but he couldn't get through to her either. So, he called Miles instead. Jason clenched his fist when Miles told him that their mother had already sent the kids home. Jason had planned to keep them around until he found out who their mother was. He asked for a picture of the triplets to show his friends later. He was hoping somehow to find a way out of this mess and patch things up with Susie. His friends arrived soon after, all in the same car. You only call us when your heart's broken, huh? Freddie teased as they entered the bar. Let him be, man. He's already hurting, Joel replied as they walked toward the farthest booth and sat down. Adam went up to the counter to order drinks. We saw what happened. That must have been one hell of a shock, Freddie said. If the kids are telling the truth, though, you're kind of lucky. 1 round, 3 kids, he added with a laugh. Jason sighed. I'm not like those guys who get duped easily. And I don't see any resemblance between me and those kids. Well, maybe they take after their mom, Adam said, placing a bucket of beers on the table. So, how are things between you and your girlfriend? Still can't reach her? Who'd be okay with that kind of news? Joel chimed in. You're about to get married, and then bam, you find out your partner has kids with someone else. That's a hard pill to swallow. If it were me, Freddie said, I'd still accept her because I love her. You need a strong woman, man, someone who fights alongside you, especially if you're getting married, Joel added, shaking his head and opening a bottle. The engagement ended like someone poured cold water on everyone, Adam muttered. Nobody was ready for that. Yeah, but you'll get through this, Freddie said, patting Jason on the shoulder. There's no shortage of women out there, Jason chuckled faintly. That's exactly what got me into trouble. Women again, Joel said, smacking Freddie on the back of the head. Jason smiled faintly at his friends. That's why I called you guys. I need help finding out who the kid's mother is. Pass. I'm not a detective, Freddie replied. Why not hire someone to do it? You've got the money. Jason winced. Are you really my friend or just my drinking buddy? Of course, we're friends, Freddie said. Send me the kid's photo. If you don't want them, I'll take them. I like smart kids. Joel raised an eyebrow. Since when do you like kids? I like smart kids, Freddie grinned. And I was impressed they brought DNA test results with them. Did you even check those results? Adam asked. I haven't yet, but Maya said it was positive. She also checked which hospital it came from, Jason answered. I'm still going to do my own investigation. If it turns out they were lying, they'll have to answer to me. Jason added, better be careful. There are plenty of fakes out there, Freddie said, drinking from his bottle. Still, considering how many women were linked to you, it's possible one of them is the mom, Adam pointed out. I don't know. I wasn't that careless. That's why I need you guys to help me clear this up so I can talk to my girlfriend again, Jason said. Fine, we'll help, they agreed. Thanks, guys, Jason said with a smile, and the four of them drank quietly together. The music wasn't too loud, so at least Jason's head wasn't pounding from the noise. The next day was Saturday, and Shaina didn't go to work. Her kids also had no school, so she stayed in her room trying to listen for any signs of what the triplets were doing. But she heard nothing, not a sound, so she had no idea what they were up to. Maybe they were still asleep. She decided to keep an eye on them. With the housemaid Lorna gone for the weekend and back in her hometown, Shaina didn't want them sneaking out again. Then she heard a rustling noise and quickly got out of bed. She walked quietly to her bedroom door, cracked it open, and peeked outside. She grimaced when she saw her three kids creeping through the hallway in hoodies, shorts, and sandals. Where do you three think you're going? She asked, suddenly opening the door wide. The triplets froze, then tried to keep straight faces as they looked at her. Just going out shopping, Mommy, Conrad answered. Oh, really? She said, raising an eyebrow. Or are you planning to throw yourselves at your dad again? The three let out a collective sigh as they looked at her. And Debbie didn't mention anything about going shopping with you. So, who exactly are you going with? She added. We're just visiting Grandpa Dennis and Grandma Diane, Liam replied cheerfully. Daddy's parents, Aunt Miles, and Aunt Lindsay will be there, too. They said we're welcome to visit any time. They've been really nice to us, Mommy. And they live in a different house. Liam grinned as he explained. It's kind of like courtship, Mommy. You win over the parents first so they'll take your side, he added, making Shaina raise an eyebrow at his cheekiness. Don't talk about their grandparents like that, she scolded. Still, who was she to stop her children's happiness? This time, Shaina decided not to resist. She would support them and make sure to accompany them. Fine, wait for me. I'll take a quick shower and come with you, she said with a smile. The triplets looked at her, mouths agape. You're really coming with us? Conrad asked in disbelief. Of course not, she smirked. I'll just drop you off. I need to make sure the three of you are safe. And one more thing, don't you dare tell them I'm your mom. Let Jason Benedict figure that out for himself. She winked at them. The triplets grinned widely. Thanks, Mommy. Approved. They pulled her into a tight hug. Shaina went back to her room and jumped into the shower. She told the kids to wait in the living room. She wouldn't take long. They had plans to spend time out afterward, maybe eat outside. This was how they used to bond when the triplets were younger. But now that they were older and school kept them busy, they rarely went out. Maybe that's why the boys started seeking their father's presence, especially being boys. An hour later, they were in the car heading toward the city. The boys were thrilled when Shaina said they'd stop at a gadget store first. She planned to buy each of them a phone so she could stay in touch with them when she was abroad for work. After purchasing the phones, she also bought 3 boxes of pizza and a box of cake to bring to the grandparents. Her relationship with Jason had only lasted a year and a half. She'd never gotten the chance to meet his family, and she still didn't understand why Jason never introduced her to them. Eventually, he left her without even saying goodbye. Soon, Shaina dropped the kids off safely and then drove home. That night, Jason woke up late due to his hangover. If he hadn't gotten thirsty, he wouldn't have woken up at all. As he stepped out of his room, he was surprised to hear love songs playing from a speaker downstairs. He hurried down the stairs, furrowing his brow when he saw one of the boys sweeping the living room floor. They were back again. Why are they here? Jason muttered, clearly annoyed. But when the boy looked up and gave him a sweet smile, Jason hesitated. Conrad ran toward him and wrapped his arms around Jason's waist before respectfully greeting him. Suddenly, Jason's thirst vanished. "Good evening, Daddy. Thanks for not being mad today. Aunt Lindsay and Aunt Miles came with us. Even my brothers are here. They're cooking dinner in the kitchen," Conrad said with a bright smile. "That doesn't mean everything's okay." "I haven't forgotten what you did," Jason muttered. Still, he let Conrad hold his hand as they walked together to the kitchen. Jason felt something strange in his chest as soon as the two other boys saw him enter. They dropped what they were doing, ran to him, hugged him tightly, and greeted him respectfully. These kids were so well-mannered, clearly raised properly. But Jason couldn't help wincing at the memory of his ruined engagement party. His siblings, however, were smiling widely at the touching scene. Jason, surrounded by the triplets, despite his anger and frustration back then, had to admit he'd missed them. It had almost been a week since they'd last seen each other. "What are you doing here? Don't you have homes of your own?" Jason grumbled as he pulled out a chair and sat down. He noticed one of the boys open the fridge, pull out a pitcher of water, and pour him a glass. "Drink some water, Daddy," Liam said with a huge grin. "Thanks, buddy," Jason replied, drinking the water gratefully. "We do have a house, but we were just visiting our grandparents," Luke said cheerfully. "But Aunt Miles invited us to have dinner here since you were alone." "Yeah, big bro," Miles added. "Mom and Dad went out. Lindsay and I didn't have plans tonight, so we figured why not? And thank goodness the kids came over. They really brighten up the house." Jason sighed deeply. "Who brought them here?" he asked, looking toward the triplets as they helped Miles prepare dinner. "Their mom dropped them off, but she didn't want to come in," Lindsay answered. Jason, noticing that dinner wasn't ready yet, stepped out of the kitchen with his glass of water and sat down in the living room. Lindsay followed and took a seat on the couch beside him. "Have you figured out who their mom is? Did they ever mention her name? Why is she hiding? Why won't she show herself?" Jason asked her. "They won't say anything, bro," Lindsay said. "The kids won't tell. I don't think their mom wants to be known yet. It's like they want you to figure it out. Try getting closer to them. Maybe then they'll open up." Jason leaned back, frustrated. "I don't know what to do anymore. My engagement was ruined, and now this. I'm so confused. There's no rewind button, bro." "You can't undo what happened," Lindsay said. "But maybe you and Susie just weren't meant to be. Honestly, I think you're meant for the triplets, Mom. Think about it. She raised 3 brilliant, sweet, and loving kids. You should get closer to them and ask." Miles joined them. "I've noticed how naturally drawn you are to the boys. Any day now, I think you'll be ready to fully accept them." Jason stared into the distance. "When Dad first saw us, he was overjoyed. I think he'd feel the same about them," Miles added. Jason gave a small nod. If these boys really were his sons, then maybe the ruined engagement was worth it. Soon after, Miles and the triplets called them in for dinner. Jason, feeling hungry himself, decided to set aside his emotions and joined them. After a few minutes, they all quietly ate together. Jason noticed everyone, including the kids, were hungry. He was the first to finish eating. He stood up, brought his plate to the sink, and then hung around in the living room watching television. Soon, Lindsay and the triplets followed him into the living room. They sat across from him on the sofa. Lindsay pulled out her phone and started fiddling with it. Jason rolled his eyes, realizing how comfortable the triplets already felt in his home. "Is the kitchen clean now? Please don't make me wash dishes," he said. "Yes, big bro," Miles replied. "We know you're too lazy to clean, especially now." Jason sighed again at his siblings' teasing. "All right, we're heading out," Lindsay said as she stood up and headed toward the door. Jason stopped her. What about these three? He asked, pointing at the triplets. You're in charge of them now, she said. They said earlier they'll stay here for the night. Maybe they'll go home tomorrow. Be good to them. Okay? Maybe they'll finally tell you who their mom is. With that, Lindsay and Miles left. Jason could only sigh in resignation. Once they were gone, he turned to the boys. So, are you three planning to stay here forever? We're just sleeping over tonight, Daddy, Luke said. Really? Won't your mom be looking for you? Jason asked. She might get worried. She already knows we're here, Liam replied casually. Okay, then give me her number. I'll call her to talk, Jason said. No need, Daddy. It's really okay, Conrad answered. Jason shook his head. He wasn't going to get any information from these boys. It was as if they were on a mission to make things as hard as possible for him. He stood up and went upstairs to his room. After a quick shower and change of clothes, he grabbed his drawer key and came back down. He told the triplets he'd be stepping out for a while. He planned to buy them some pajamas since it was getting cold. While driving, he found himself thinking about Susie again. What was she doing now? He still couldn't reach her. And no matter how hard he tried not to, he also kept thinking about the triplets' mother. Just yesterday, he checked his social media account. Susie had blocked him. That pretty much confirmed she wanted nothing to do with him anymore. As he drove past a carnival, he noticed all the rides, booths, food stands, and games. The place was packed. An idea popped into his mind. He would take the kids there later after buying them clothes. At the mall, he let the boys choose their own pajamas. He paid for the clothes, and they returned to the car. The boys begged for ice cream, so he gave in. He realized there was no point in always being angry. What had happened already happened. Nothing could change it now. They drove around until evening. Finally, he brought up the idea of stopping by the carnival. The first ride the triplets requested was the Ferris wheel. Jason wasn't a fan of such rides. He started shaking his head slowly, uncomfortable with the idea. But the boys insisted, and he eventually agreed to go with them. After getting off the ride, Jason felt dizzy. The triplets noticed right away and didn't push for more rides. Instead, they grabbed some carnival snacks and focused on eating. The next day was Monday. Shaina didn't go to work. She was waiting for her triplets to come home so she could finally breathe easy. She had already prepared their school uniforms and packed their lunches. A few minutes later, she heard a vehicle pull up in front of their house. Lorna, can you check if it's the boys? Shaina called out. Yes, ma'am, Lorna answered with a smile as she stepped out of the kitchen. Soon, Shaina heard laughter coming from the kitchen. Her boys had returned. Hi, kids. Looks like you had fun, Shaina greeted them warmly, noticing the joy on their faces. Yes, Mommy. Daddy was really kind to us. He even took us out to the carnival last night and rode the Ferris wheel with us, Conrad said excitedly. Shaina's eyes widened. Wait, I've never even tried riding that thing in my whole life, and you three just went up there like it was nothing. Yes, Mommy. It was really fun. It felt like we were on top of the world, Luke added, grinning. Daddy rode with us, Liam chimed in. But he's afraid of heights, so we felt bad for him. That's why we didn't ask to ride again. We just ate snacks afterward. Shaina chuckled, imagining Jason's face during that ride. But then she paused, reminding herself not to soften toward him. She was still angry. All right, go shower. You need to get to school, she said. By the way, who dropped you off? Aunt Lindsay did, Conrad replied. She was in a rush, so you didn't get to meet her. Shaina nodded and instructed Lorna to help the kids get ready. She would drive them to school herself before heading to work. Their school was far, so Lorna needed to stay nearby for safety, even though the triplets were already 10. Shaina stood up to shower and prepare for the day. A month passed quickly. Meanwhile, Jason waited for updates from his friends. Then one day, his phone rang. It was Joel. They arranged to meet up and talk about what Joel had discovered. Jason was the last to arrive, and Joel was clearly annoyed. "I thought this was important to you. Why are you so late?" Adam asked. "No surprise that you're the first to nag," Jason thought to himself, smirking. "I've been busy," Jason said aloud. "Don't forget, you asked us to do this. And it's not like our help comes free. We became detectives for you. That's not easy." "We could have been accused of stalking," Joel said seriously. "Exactly," Freddie added. "This wasn't a game." Jason sighed, knowing they were right. Finding someone who didn't want to be found was hard. Shaina had made sure of that. Even when he tried to follow the boys, he never got a clear lead. Joel began explaining. "So, the other day I dropped off my nephews at school. While waiting, I saw your triplets with a woman. I asked around, but the guard said she was just a nanny. Later, I picked up my nephews again and saw a different woman pick up your kids. She stepped out of the car and walked toward them. I was near the guard again, and he whispered that she was their mother." "Did she look familiar? Was she one of my exes?" Jason asked. "Nope. I've known you for 3 years, and I don't recognize her, but who knows? Maybe she was from before we met. Honestly, she looks more compatible with me," Joel joked. The group burst into laughter. Except Jason, who stayed serious. "I'm not joking," Jason muttered. "Okay, fine. I know you're serious," Joel said. "But I didn't want you going home with your mind spinning. So, I took a picture of her, pretending to photograph my nephews." Joel handed Jason his phone. As soon as Jason saw the photo, it felt like the world stopped. Shaina, the mother of the triplets, was Shaina, the woman he had last been with 10 years ago, the one he had walked out on. His mind began to race. Maybe what the triplets said was true. Maybe they really were his kids. Jason knew what he had to do now. Talk to Shaina and confirm everything. But deep down, he felt scared because he knew he was the one who had wronged her. "Dude, you okay? That's your ex, right?" Freddie asked, noticing Jason's reaction. Jason slowly nodded and leaned back on the couch, stunned. "So, those kids really are yours?" Adam said. "You can't run from this anymore." Jason's mind was racing. He needed to talk to Shaina. But how? He wasn't even sure if he had the courage to face her, knowing he'd hurt her so deeply. "You should focus on the kids now," Joel said. "Accept them into your life. I know it's hard, but you'll get through this. Women come and go, but kids, they're a one-time gift. Don't ignore that." Jason sat in silence. Deep down, he knew Joel was right. The triplets were worth it, and the guilt he'd carried for years suddenly started to mix with something else. Hope. He thanked his friends, then decided to leave early. He wanted to be home when the boys visited. When he arrived at his house, he didn't head straight inside. Instead, he sat on the concrete bench outside the gate and waited. But night came, and no one showed up. Wait for next part 2.